By the way, why is this Tweety nightgown low-key like the cutest thing that I own in my closet right now? Not the point of this video though. Let me show you what I eat in a typical meal, which is usually always under 500 calories. I don't think I ever, it's very difficult for me to surpass 500 calories in a single sit-down meal with the way that I eat these days or the types of food that I choose, which in turn helps me to keep my daily calories under 1200. And by keeping my daily calories under 1200, I think that's also a large reason as to how I've been able to finally lose some of that stubborn weight that I've put on the past year or two. So in my case, just full disclosure, I've never been like truly overweight in my life. The most I've ever weighed was 120 pounds. So I've been between basically 105 and 120, maybe 122 on a particularly bloated day. But yeah, that's the range I've been in for my entire life. So I'm not one of those people that was morbidly obese and then was able to lose 100 pounds over the course of a year or something like that. I'm not claiming that I know what it's like to engineer that big of a change in my body, but what I can say is that if you're trying to get from like 54 kilos, which is what I was pretty much all of last year, to down to 50, or like when you're at a size that is already kind of considered thin or on the thinner side and you want to just get even more snatched, that is typically the place where people tend to plateau, right? Those final pockets of like really stubborn fat, for me it's on my belly, they just don't want to come off no matter what you do. And that's when a lot of us, like myself included, find ourselves really experimenting around or trying to throw everything at the wall to see what sticks and what actually works. So for me, after many months and countless trial and error runs, I finally found that this is what seems to be not only working for me, but also sustainable with the reality of my current lifestyle. I want to make it clear, I do not advocate for restriction whatsoever. If you like to restrict in the sense of time, like intermittent fasting or something, I think that's great as long as you can keep it up. For me, I found that the time restriction is actually the most difficult part for me, meaning that I do not do well with only allowing myself to eat during certain windows of time. I've tried intermittent fasting in the past where I do the classic, 8 hours window for eating, like 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and then fasting or only very low calorie liquids like water for the rest of the 16 hours. And I find that psychologically it just doesn't work well for me. Anything that makes me feel like I need to follow some sort of authoritative rules or I'm not allowed to do something, that's like a huge trigger for me in general in all areas of my life pretty much. So yeah, what would happen is that I would have success for maybe like a week or two, but then I would start to just, as my natural rebellious personality is inclined to do, I would start to find ways to circumvent. I would start to find ways to cheat my intermittent fasting regimen or plan, meaning that, okay, even if I made sure that I was able to still observe the time rule, like only eating within the 8-hour window, I would slowly find myself starting to creep up like the amount of calories that I was eating within the 8 hours. Maybe for the first week I would eat a normal amount, like 1200 to 1500 calories, but then slowly as the time progresses, I would find myself just feeling, again, restricted, feeling like claustrophobic, and I want a way out of this self-imposed rule that I don't actually want to follow. So instead of keeping the calorie count to a reasonable amount for one whole day, I would find myself like binge eating, trying to tell myself the excuse that, well, as long as I eat it within 8 hours, it should be fine, right? Even if I binge eat like an entire pizza and 3 Subway sandwiches and 2 pieces of cake, as long as I keep it within an 8-hour window, it should be fine, because that's the definition of intermittent fasting. When in reality, it's like, no, 3,000 calories is 3,000 calories, whether you eat it within 8 hours or spread it out throughout the day. So I found that for myself. When I took away the time restriction aspect of it, this is just for me. I'm not saying this is gonna work for everyone, obviously, but if you're like me and you don't do well with authority, you don't do well with keeping everything on a strict schedule, this is kind of goes into non-resistance as a manifestation technique as well. I found that if I just told myself, okay, you're allowed to eat any time of the day you want, even if it's like 3 a.m. and you wake up and you have a craving for something, whether it's ice cream or even something healthier like a salad, if you feel like you want to eat, you can eat, but how about let's just try to keep the calorie count under 1200, right? And 1200 is a little extreme, but again, I'm still trying to lose 2 kilos. So I went from 54 kilos to my most recent weigh-in was last week at my health check for my new job, where it came out to 52.3 kilos on the scale. So that was really, really encouraging, and that's what kind of motivated me to make this video. And who knows, we might turn it into a series, because I feel like finally I'm starting to see real long-lasting results. It's not like in the past where I would always be able to lose like 2 or 3 kilos really quickly if I tried, but then I would always bounce back because the methods that I was using back then, like basically starving myself or sporadically intermittent fasting for a week and then inevitably, you know, breaking the habit or not being able to keep up with the intermittent fasting because naturally it doesn't feel good to me. It feels restrictive to me. Yeah, this time around I was able to find like an actual sustainable solution. Again, these are just the tips and tricks that worked for me, and hopefully anyone out there who's listening to this who may have a similar personality type to me or just similar struggles with just losing that tiny extra stubborn 2 or 3 kilos of weight, I got you. So basically the core tenets of what I do these days is that, like I mentioned, I remove resistance to the time factor by telling myself that I'm allowed to eat at any hour that I want, pretty much throughout the daytime or even at night. If I wake up in the middle of the night and I want to grab a bite, I'm allowed to do that as long as everything stays under 1200 calories for the entire 24-hour period. And then, you know, ironically enough, once I told myself that, it removed the resistance to being on a time schedule to where I no longer even feel the compulsion to eat late at night or eat at odd hours. I'm not saying it never happens. So once in a while, it does still happen. I'm gonna be honest. It'll be like literally 1 or 2 a.m. typically on weekends, because that's when I can have the luxury of staying up really late, and if I'm editing a YouTube video or something, sometimes the craving will just hit me out of nowhere at 2 a.m. But the difference now is that, first of all, it's not like junk food anymore the way it used to be, because I rewired my taste buds with the types of food that I'm eating now. I'm eating more like simple whole foods, you know, healthy salads, fruits, meat, but like literally just plain deli meat, you know, like sliced salami or like a really lightly seasoned chicken breast that they sell at 7-Eleven here, and they still all taste really good to me. Okay, let me try to get organized here. Basically the core tenets of what I'm doing, I try to keep it between 1200 and 1500 calories a day, but I try to keep it on the low end because I'm still trying to lose that extra 2 kilos. I don't give myself a restrictive window within when I can eat, which oddly enough dissipates my resistance towards. So funny enough, by telling myself I can eat whenever I want, as long as it's, you know, low calorie, actually has the counter opposite effect of removing my resistance and allowing my body to relax into actually eating at normal times throughout the day where I would naturally feel hungry, because I don't have that rebellious thought running in the back of my mind that I want to break rules by eating at odd times that are not typical meal times for people. Now I rarely ever have the urge to eat before 12 p.m. or after like 8 p.m. Once in a while at midnight or something, especially if I'm up editing, I will crave for something, but even in those instances, it's for something healthy now, like literally a salad. Eating a 100 calorie salad in the middle of the night is not ideal, but it's a hell of a lot better than eating an entire pizza, right? 100 calorie salad at 1 a.m., it's not enough to derail everything for the next day and moving forward. So the third component is I walk a crap ton of steps every single day, because I found that that's the one exercise that I have, again, the least resistance to. I don't want to get into the whole backstory about my relationship to exercise in particular, because that in itself can be an entire other video. But yeah, just to put it very simply, I was never one of those kids that grew up in a very sporty home, or like I never was encouraged to prioritize sports when I was younger, and I always felt like I never enjoyed physical activity. I didn't enjoy gym class or anything like that. I was always the slowest in my class whenever we would have, you know, those days where we had to run a mile, or yeah, I was always the slowest. I was always like the least physically capable, and it was just not an enjoyable experience for me. So as an adult, this mentality still carries through, unfortunately, to where at least now, so I've found ways where I am able to get myself to exercise. Basically, most of those include having other people push me. So basically like taking classes, paying for exercise classes in which there is a teacher, there's an instructor where their job is to push me to exercise. On my own, I don't have the motivation, I don't have the will in me to do it. The only way to get me to move my body is if someone is literally standing right there next to me, telling me what to do. And then secondly, it has to be an activity that feels as little as possible as exercise to me. So for me, I found that that's pole dancing. You can see I installed a pole in my apartment even, but you want to know the sad thing about this pole? I've only used it maybe 3 times in the 2 years that I've had this pole up in my apartment, because even with pole dancing, which is something that I enjoy, I don't see it as just like drudgery the way I view going to the gym. You know, pole dancing is dance, it's sexy, it's fun. But at the end of the day though, true to my personality, I guess, I discovered that at the end of the day, when I'm at home, when I'm by myself in a room with a pole and nobody else to hold me accountable, I still fall back on that pattern of I don't want to do this because it's physical movement at the end of the day. So this is definitely like, this is one of my blocks, whatever you want to call it, that I need to work on. Although to be honest with you, I don't really feel like I need to work on it that much, because as I'm explaining in this video, I have found my own workarounds. I have found what works for me, so I'm just gonna stick with that as long as it keeps working for me. So for me, the only thing that I have found I am able to get up and do day after day, week after week, without much resistance, without that feeling that I had in 5th grade in gym class, where everyone else seems to be better at sports than me. Everyone is more fit and they seem like they're having more fun. Meanwhile, I'm just over here feeling like I'm in hell. The only physical activity so far that I have found that I'm able to do just on autopilot without feeling like I'm dying is walking at least 10,000 steps a day. And actually I've worked it up to more like 12,000 steps on average. So it varies depending on the day, depending on like how busy I am, but the average has been going up every week. I've been very consciously making sure that my weekly average is at least 10,000. Nowadays it's more like 12,000 steps a day. There are days where I have extra time or an extra burst of energy, and I make sure that I take advantage of those days. I will walk like 20,000 steps in those days. Whereas there are other days where maybe I'm super busy with work, you know, we have a super long day, I'm just glued at my computer trying to solve all these different issues. On those days, I might only be able to get in like 5,000. But for every single day that I only manage to put in, let's say 5,000 steps, you can bet your ass that the next day, I consciously have it in my mind that, okay, we're going to walk 10,000 steps for sure today, plus that 5,000 to make up for the deficit from the previous day, and then some, you know, depending on how I feel physically. And typically I take my walks late at night, which is kind of a matter of survival in 35-degree to 40-degree Tokyo summer that we have right now. It is very time consuming. It's not the most efficient thing. Obviously, if I did more high intensity workouts, I could probably burn the same amount of calories in a lot less time and just save time for myself that way, but I would be miserable though if I took high intensity workout classes. Again, maybe sometime in the future I can really like concentrate on removing those blocks that I have towards exercise, but for now, this is the most sustainable, most realistic, and also cheapest method for me. Walking is free, okay? I'm even thinking about buying like a small little, not a full-blown treadmill, but a little step thing that I can put in my apartment so that I can do something else productive, so that at least I can do something while I'm walking, you know, like maybe read a book or something. Because when I'm out walking around the neighborhood, I mean, that in itself, just making sure that you're outside, has its own set of benefits as well. So I'm aware that there's a trade-off there if I want to switch to walking or getting my steps in inside the home. But you know, like I said, it is very time consuming. In order to get in like the insane amount of steps that I've committed to every single day, I walk for probably no less than 2 hours combined a day, probably closer to 3, especially when we're talking about those 18,000, 20,000 step days. So I feel like if any one of these 3 tenets were missing, then this whole program would not work. I would not be able to continue maintaining my overall fitness, which includes aesthetically the way my body looks right now, which I'm very, very happy with, like much more so than last year, even though to most people, my friends and acquaintances, they would not really notice much of a difference, but I notice it, and it's starting from how I feel. Okay, so finally, without further ado, I'm going to show you a typical meal that I eat these days. Almost always, every single meal I have is under 500 calories, which reminds me, okay, there's actually a 4th component to my whole system. So the 4th component is that the food has to taste good to me. Again, I can only show you what really works for me, what makes my taste buds in particular sing, if you will. Everybody has their own different preferences, so this is going to be another area where you might have to do some trial and error. However, I am here to say that you can absolutely find delicious, satisfying, flavorful foods that are low calorie and filling enough to sustain you throughout the entire day, to where you don't have to break your threshold or your limit, 1500, 1200 calories, whatever you've set it to be. Okay, let me show you what a typical meal looks like for me. I get this little packet of baby spinach leaves, and this one doesn't say the calories on it, but I've gotten similar sized packets before from other brands, and typically this amount is 15 to 30 calories, literally nothing. I add quite a bit of dressing, usually like Chinese or Japanese dressing with a clear base. So when you add the dressing, this is like 100 calories, right? You know, the funny thing is I bought this creamy dressing as well. This is Caesar salad lemon. I like anything lemony, so I thought to myself, why not pick this up as an option for, you know, obviously this one has more calories than this one, but why not pick it up for whenever I'm in the mood for some creamy Caesar style dressing? And you know, the funny thing is, I've gone through like 3 bottles of this. I just picked up this aoshiso dressing last night on one of my hot girl walks. This is the typical Japanese dressing. This one is like non-oil. Wow, this one has the least calories of all 3. So this one is 34 calories, 10 calories, and then 60 calories per 15 grams. So I've gone through like 3 bottles of my regular clear dressings, and I still haven't opened this one up. I've yet to try this one because every time I take a look at it, I'm like, 60 calories versus 30 or 10. Is it even worth it? Because this one tastes just as good, just as flavorful, if not even more than this one, because this one has like all of that sodium and the spices that I like. So yeah, that's how I make decisions now too when it comes to food. I no longer associate super high calorie count with automatic like flavor, or this is gonna taste good. What tastes good, whether it's 10 calories or 60 calories. So I might as well go with the lower calorie option. Okay, so that's how I keep the salad at basically 100 calories, even if I douse it with a lot of dressing. Then I will typically grab some sort of meat, just plain protein. So this one is actually one of the more indulgent options that I go for when I'm really craving that, like, again, explosion of flavor. This is, okay, I don't know why they do this. The actual packet is 60 grams, but the calorie information is per 100 grams. So this one is 450 calories per 100 grams, which means that the packet, which is 60 grams, contains only 270 calories. So that's my biggest calorie spend, so to speak, for this meal so far. We are still only at 370. And then to top it off, I will get these little cheese chips. This one is Parmesan, and it is 107 calories. We will just round that up to 110. So there you have it. I basically have all the ingredients here for a salad or a sandwich minus the bread. A total of 470 calories, which is under 500. I only eat 2 big meals a day, so I will have this for lunch typically. A similar combination, just switched out with different foods. Like instead of the salami, I might have chicken breast. Instead of the spinach leaves, I might have some okra, you know, etc. for my second meal. So let's just say that I max out both of my big meals of the day at 500 calories. That still brings me to only 1,000 calories, which leaves me some wiggle room, like 200 or 300 calories for dessert, ice cream, a high calorie drink from Starbucks, maybe a fruit smoothie thrown in there from 7-Eleven, whatever tickles my fancy. And I feel like I'm not depriving myself at all. I feel like I'm pretty much eating nonstop the entire day. So again, I'm not claiming to make like the most healthy choices across the board. I'm not like a nutritionist or anything. Obviously, for example, this salami, obviously it has a lot of sodium in it because I am a sodium fiend, okay? I'm gonna be very upfront about that. I love salty, spicy foods. I often add hot sauce to everything. Where's my hot sauce? I'm balancing my phone on my hot sauce bottle right now, actually, so I can't show it to you, but I use Blair's Death Sauce on everything. But the point is not to be perfect, right? It's just to be as balanced as possible. In my experience, dealing with as few ingredients as possible has helped out tremendously with just being able to keep track of what goes in and out of my body. Like, for example, okay, meat, salami, spinach leaves. This is one ingredient. Parmesan cheese chips. one ingredient. The salami is obviously the most unhealthy out of everything here. It has a lot of things that go into it, but it's still a lot more, how should I say this? Like, it's more transparent what I'm putting into my body. It's basically, I'm only eating these 3 ingredients. So that's all my body needs to account for and digest later on. As opposed to, for example, you know, a huge ass set meal from McDonald's with the double cheeseburger and the fries and the side of, I don't even know what they have these days, fried chicken. They are putting all sorts of crap in those fast food items, right? You don't even know half of what's going in there, if it even qualifies as actual food most of the time. We've seen studies on like the horrors of what actually goes into fast food items. And not to mention just one of those meals, you know, the double Whoppers or whatever with the 2 beef patties and the cheese, the bread bun, the French fries, all the salt, all of the ketchup or whatever that you use on the fries, fried chicken or apple pie, whatever typically comes with a fast food meal set, that will easily take you over 1,000 calories in just one sitting, and you're not even going to feel satisfied. Fast food is designed to be addictive, to where you're going to feel hungry in a few hours again anyways, and you might end up eating another 1,000 calories at a similar, you know, restaurant, which takes you over 2,000 when you could have just taken a week or 2 to really figure out what your taste buds need in order for you to feel satiated, and handpick the 2 or 3 or 5 ingredients that you want to put in your body. So this way you know exactly what's going in your body, and the overall calories is a lot less. This is a crap ton of food. Like, I'm going to be eating all of this in one sitting, and it's going to keep me occupied. Honestly, it feels like I'm just eating non-stop. I can munch and chew on this for easily an hour, 2 hours straight, you know, especially on the weekend when I have that extra time. And also, like, for me, I guess something about eating all of these things separately instead of just mixing it together, like, these are basically ingredients that you can put in a salad, right? But I find it to be more psychologically satisfying for me if I eat them all separately, like just the salad first, then the salami slices, which, by the way, even though it's only like 60 grams worth of salami in here, the slices are so thin that I eat the slices one by one, and it feels like I'm just eating meat endlessly for however long it takes me to finish this packet. Same thing with the cheese, you know, like there's only 110 calories worth of cheese in here, but it's broken down into these small little bite-sized chip portions, which are packed with flavor. So again, it just feels like I'm eating a much heartier, much larger meal than I would be if I was like biting into a Big Mac. So it just makes me feel like I'm eating this huge multi-course hearty meal with all these flavorful ingredients. Like, the individual ingredients, the cheese itself is flavorful enough. I don't need to have like a whole bag of Cheetos, you know, because that's gonna have cheese, preservatives, carbs, whatever they put in there. I don't even know what Cheetos are comprised of. But this Parmesan cheese, is it good in large quantities? Obviously no, but I know for a fact that it's only Parmesan cheese in here, you know, but it still packs that large amount of flavor that I'm looking for. So I hope this helps. I spent like way too long on this video. I thought this was going to be a quick little 10-minute check-in. I thought this was going to be a quick little spontaneous what I eat under 500 calories for lunch in Tokyo, but I've been talking for like an hour. So yeah, I'm going to eat now. I'm going to enjoy my little full-on 3-course lunch / dinner, and I might even go for ice cream or like a green tea latte or something, whatever I want later on this night. And I will be well under my 1,200 calorie limit for a single day, which keeps me in a calorie deficit, which contributes to me losing the extra 2 kilos that I want. And I don't have a time, I don't have a set date by which I want to lose the weight. I just want it off eventually. I just want to get back to 50 kilos, or even 48 would be great, because I distinctly remember feeling the best and the lightest when I was 48 kilos. That was like from college to my mid-20s. I just want to get back to what I feel like is my optimal body. And this new way of eating and getting my 10,000, 12,000 steps in every day on average has really been working out for me. So I hope this helps. Happy to answer any questions or do follow-up videos if there are any requests. And I'll talk to you later. Bye.